All right. Hello. Today we are going to go over visual supports within TD Snap, where to find them, and then how to set them up on your own. So if you are in the Core First page set, there are actually some embedded visual supports within the pages. So for example, if I go over here to the topics page on my toolbar, you'll notice, let's go into bubbles, for example. You'll see over here a little life raft over to the right side that says supports. And we know that this opens up to another page because there's a navigation button here. So I'm going to click on that supports option. And you'll see we've got a visual timer, a blowing bubbles first then visual, a bubble schedule, a bubble script, and a story. So you also will notice that you have feelings over here and repairs, so communication repairs. So let's just look at these samples here within the bubbles topic that are already embedded in the system. So for a visual timer, you can see it up at the top. Oh, and I'm sorry, my box may be covering it, but you can see it counting down over here on the left at the top. All right, that red bar is slowly going down. It's a set 5-minute timer. You can change the amount of time in the settings, or you can set it to where when you click on visual timer, it actually asks you how long you want that timer to be. And I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to turn off that timer. You've also got a first then for blowing bubbles. So first, open the bubbles.
Open the bubbles. Then
Blow the wand. And I'm not sure if you can hear my sound. I'm sorry if it's not sharing, but it actually speaks it out loud for you in the chosen voice. All right, and then I'm going to click out of there and we'll go to the bubble schedule. You can see we've got first, get the bubbles. Next, carefully blow them. Then put the wand back, and last, clean up. And again, you can click these and make them speak so that the child can follow along. Then you've got a bubble script. So this is a speaking conversational script about bubbles. And then you've got a blowing bubbles.
To blow bubbles, I'll ask an adult to help me get set up.
When I usually blow bubbles, I will ask an adult to help me set up, and so forth. And it's just a story that's been made. And then you've also got feelings so that they can use that within those supports. And then again, repairs as well, conversational repairs. So just as another example, if I go to TVs and movies, I've also got built-in supports over here. A movie theater first buy the ticket, then find your seat, and so forth. So those are just embedded in the system within the topics pages of Core First. You've also got a visual timer on your dashboard, or I may have added that actually. Now let's go into motor plans. So again, we're changing our page set here. You may or may not already have it on your page set options. In motor plan, you're going to find those visual supports in the dashboard right here. And these are just pre-made, just to give you an idea of what that looks like, but don't actually have anything in them. There is a hand washing schedule, first work, then play, and then an about me script. So just some examples. So let's talk about, let's say I'm using the motor plan page set and I'd like to do some visual supports that are not already in here in different topics. So I'm going to use food and drink as an example. So I'm going to go to that page, and let's say I want to have a first then for eating out at a restaurant. So I'm going to click on eating out. All right, and I just want to build in some visual supports here. So let's go to my gear and pencil icon in the top right corner. And I'm going to put it over here on the right side. All right, so we are adding a button just like usual. Now, again, you're always going to have the automatic action pop up to speak or insert message. I don't necessarily need it to speak visual supports. We're going to add a new action here. So we're going to click add action. And you can either search for it when we search for actions here, or you can scroll down and there's going to be a tab labeled visual support. So you can see here's your first then, mini schedule, script, or visual timer. So let's do a first then. for eating at a restaurant. So I'm just going to label it restaurant. All right. You can label it whatever you want. You could label it ordering, whatever you want to do. So then I'm going to click on my first right here, and it's going to ask me for a label. So again, that's what the button is going to say. So let's do, now remember, it's already going to say first. All right. So we don't have to add in first. So let's do first, go to the counter. So let's say we're just at a fast food restaurant. All right. First, go to the counter. And that's what I want the message to say as well. All right. So I want the button to say go to the counter, or we could just do counter. And the message could be go to the counter. The message is going to be what's spoken. Okay. And that's a pretty good visual for that. Let's do that. You could also find your own or a real picture on the internet if you wanted to from the web. It's completely up to you. Or how about walk up to the counter? That works. Let's do walk up to the counter. All right, we're going to save that. And then we're going to order. I'm going to put order food. Okay, and let's look up. Let's do this one. Again, you can search for other visuals on the web, however you want to do it. Now, speaking headers is going to give you that first and then speaking. All right, so I'm going to hit done. And when I click on restaurant, and you may want to label it restaurant first then, however you want to label that button. All right, totally up to you. First, go to the counter if I click on it, then order food. All right, so you've got your first then. Great. Let's add one more. Again, I'm going to take away that action of speaking or inserting the message. Let's add an action. And I want to show you the visual timer. So do we want it to play an alarm when the timer is finished? That's turned on. Ask for a time when button is selected. All right, I'm going to click yes on that. Your other option is to select a time that you want it to be. All right, up to 60 minutes. So I could set a 5-minute timer, and every time I click on that, it would automatically be 5 minutes. But you can also do ask for a time when button is selected, and I'll show you that. Again, you could label it visual timer, whatever you want to label it, and hit done. So now when I click on visual timer, it's actually going to ask me how long I want that timer to be in increments of 5. All right, so lots of different options, but the setup is going to look very similar to how we edited it on this first then. If you ever need to go back and change anything, this is what the button looks like. So I'll just click here on this action, first then, and then you could edit that there. All right, thank you for watching.